Victor, let me ask you, what is the question that you have on your mind today that you need advice on, or the situation that you need
Um,
advice on?
okay, like we've talked about narcissism before, and I got into a couple of relationships with narcissists. So, sometimes you have mutual friends with a narcissist, and I guess it's probably best to like go no contact with those people afterwards since they're friends with the narcissist, and it probably doesn't do me good to stay in communication with those people. But how do you feel about that?
So are you currently in a relationship that's has narcissistic tendencies, or
No,
you're
I like ended it, like went no contact, because it was not healthy for me to be in that relationship. But like
Mhm.
I had some great friends that were mutual friends,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it seems like sometimes I might be stuck if I stay in those relationships, or the narcissist might they tend to smear you. So and I don't want to explain myself to those people. It's like the friendships have been altered because of the narcissist and the smear campaign.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. And I hear mutual friends. So did you meet these friends through your previous relationship?
So we were coworkers, but we hung out and we'd go to like some called book clubs. So we'd go to the bar after work on Fridays and whatnot,
Mhm.
and parties we'd have, and got fairly close. Like some of them would come out to my lake and hang out and barbecue and whatnot. So I consider some of them pretty good friends, but
Okay.
you know
Good friend.
especially like the female friends
Mhm.
of the narcissists that I got involved with. It's
Mhm.
just like it seems like maybe it's not a good idea to try to maintain any of those friendships. So that's what I was like wondering how you
Mhm.
felt about that.
There's no reasons to cut people out
Okay.
unless they give you reasons to. And so has these good friends or your mutual friends that you described that you might feel like you need to cut out, given
hmm
you reasons to actually have to cut them out aside
I
from
mean, there's one in particular that, like, she was one of my best female friends ever. But she said something when I saw her the last time that just kind of made me think her perspective was, influenced by the narcissist. But I didn't feel like explaining myself. I feel like to maintain the relationship with her, I have to explain my whole side of the story. And and then it seems like that's taken me right back to where I was before, and like the growth I've had since then. Like I'm trying to move on from all that. So,
Mhm.
maybe I'm answering my own question. Maybe it's better for me to just not communicate with her anymore.
Well, number one is if they were good friends, they would understand you first and foremost, Victor, right?
hmm
Um,
Right.
that is the only way to actually keep any type of relationship,
hmm
right? So if that person or the good friends that you're talking about are easily influenced by other people's perception of you and they allow it to actually get in influence your relationship with them, it doesn't sound like they were very good friends to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or
It does make sense. I just
how?
think like there tends to be like a girl bonding or a female type of bonding with their friends that
Yep.
sometimes makes them, I don't know, take the girl's side, or not really that, because she's pretty
Mhm.
open minded, but just like feel some sort of stronger connection, probably. with her girlfriends than like a guy friend.
Has these friends, are there female and male friends involved in this group of
Yeah,
folks?
I've kept in touch with one male friend from that time period, but the other guy turned out to be a narcissist to my boss. So, like, he went to a different district and he wanted me to work in that district, and I didn't want to go. And then he, like, said some, like, he was gaslighting and trying to manipulate me and stuff. And so I cut him off because I realized that he was also a narcissist. They're the only two narcissists that I know of in my whole life. But I've studied about it quite a bit since then, and they're definitely narcissists because they check all the boxes. Those two people, my ex boss and this ex, it was like an affair. It wasn't like a, but it was a long time. We talked to each other and communicated in text for like a year and a half. So before anything intimate happened.
Saying that they were narcissists, can you explain to me how that looks like between the both of you?
I mean, the girl, okay, it all started when, like, we came home from, like, a book club, and she starts texting me, like, did I get home okay, and stuff like that. And then she was, like, texting me constantly for, like, a month or something. Or 2 months. It was, like, the love bombing, And then, there were red flags, but I didn't know what red flags were because I never got involved with a girl who was narcissistic. So I didn't, I ignored them, but I didn't know how dangerous they were. And so it progressed. There was she lived with a guy. So I was like, I don't want to like get involved. She was dropping hints that she wanted more than friendship, but she lived with a guy and it sounded like, too messy. I didn't want to get involved in that. And so later on, she broke up with that guy, and we ended up, having a friend group. And then once I went to her place, and we were intimate, and she kind of tricked me into it, but we were intimate. And then, like the next day, she acted like it didn't happen. That was like gaslighting right there. I was there. I know what happened, but so then I tried to kind of maintain the friendship, but things kind of blew up in a group conversation when she provoked me, and I reacted. It was a reactive abuse. She provoked me. She was telling my best friend, we need new people in book club. What she meant by that was she didn't want me in book club. So she's going, come on, invite this other guy, so that kind of, made me upset. And so then I said, her name's Mel. I said, hey, Mel, why don't you just invite, it was like three kind of like loser type people that she was kind of friends with. I said, hey, why don't you being kind of sarcastic, I said, why don't you invite those people? And then, she might have felt exposed. She might have felt threatened, and that's when she plotted this strategy to isolate me and even kind of escalate to her trying to get me fired. So, and turned my boss against me. So it was pretty traumatic. It was the most traumatic thing I've had in my life. So I have some scars from it. That was one other thing I was thinking to talk to you about as far as like improving my mindset and like not internalizing like some of the evaluation stuff that both of them did to me, or but that's probably for a longer conversation, right?
Well, okay. So currently you're saying you had two people that you were close with try to hurt you, right? For the first kind of time in your life.
Exactly. Right? So when I like said that, she touched like the girl, she's, once I said that and like kind of humiliated her in the group text with coworkers, then she was like out for revenge and wanted to hurt me,
Vengeful, right? And trying to hurt you, right?
Yeah. And they both tried to hurt me.
So there's a couple of things I want to talk about for you to possibly information, okay? And I'm not the type of person to try to validate everybody with everything. However, it does sound like for the first time of your life, you've had two people that you trusted betray you, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And that in itself, I want to make like space for, and it is going to cause you to view the world and relationships in a different way, right?
Exactly. I'm less trusting now. It's like, which may be a good thing to have more boundaries, and you
Mm,
can't trust everybody in a way, but I know
so
you got to be vulnerable to grow and to get the most out of life. So it's like a double-edged sword kind of a thing, or maybe that's not the right expression, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
no, yeah, definitely, right? I hear that you know that you've been hurt and you need to not trust people as easily, right? But I also
Mm-hmm.
hear that you know, creating relationships requires an amount of vulnerability for you to create
Mm-hmm.
relationships alone, okay? And so that's firstly, I want you to, when you're asking about your friends and we were talking about mutual friends and things like that, it's important that the opinion of you viewing them, of you keeping the relationship as a personal one rather than a influential one. Unless you do want to just cut everybody out because they are friends with the two narcissistic people who you said tendencies. Again, I want
Yeah, I
disclaimer.
think most of them are friends with the one narcissistic person, and then the guy friend actually works for the narcissistic boss. But I'm gonna stay friends with him. I trust him. He's been kind of one of my best friends, and
Yeah.
so far. But sometimes he'll say something about that guy, and I just bite my tongue. So that's like something I'm not sure if I should tell him how I feel or just bite my tongue. With him, but one question becomes 10 questions. So.
Yeah, so I would say like any relationships in which you choose to keep or detach from, the opinion
Mm-hmm.
has to come from you and the experience has to come from you. That's very first and foremost. And
Mm-hmm.
what I worry for you in the future, Victor, is essentially that you have this hypersensitive, hyperactive drive of narcissist, like that word even stemming in your brain all the time. You're in fear mode, right? When
Yeah, it's like, you click on one thing about narcissism in Instagram, and all of a sudden you get like 20 things
a
about
million.
narcissism. So,
Exactly, right? And so it
yeah.
prevents you from actually being able to, one, trust your own judgment again,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And form
Yeah.
your own opinions with given your life outside of that word or the videos, right? And so it's
Mm-hmm.
really important right now. I would say the only thing I can advise you on is, are you reacting or are you reflecting and intentionally and calmly with no fear or no happiness attached? Just, yeah, I want to keep this friend because they make me feel good and
Mm-hmm.
they add value to my life, or no, this person did XYZ to me and I need to cut them out. And it has to be, you may want to call them a narcissist or not. They may not actually be. Okay, I'm going to be
The
honest.
friend? You mean the friend?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not a
Right?
narcissist. The friend's not
Doesn't
a narcissist.
If they are, they are. If they aren't, they aren't. What I want you to focus on is like, is this person going to stay or be out of my life, right? If they're a
Correct.
narcissist or not, don't overthink it. Don't over dig, right? Because I'm going to be honest, that word gets thrown out around way too often. There are an
Mm-hmm.
increase of narcissistic traits for sure in people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Controlling, manipulative, reactive, gaslighting, lack of integrity, lack of respect. The traits are all
Exactly.
there for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Are
Uh-huh.
they really diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder? Don't even go there. Just think right now with any dating relationships or any
Mm-hmm.
friendships,
Yeah.
does that relationship, is it reciprocal effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do they understand who I am? Do I feel safe with them? And do they add value to my life? And do I add value to theirs, right?
Exactly.
If they're narcissistic or not, right? It doesn't matter. But from what I heard is your good friends or the friends that you were considering possibly cutting out. We're getting influenced by your friend, your ex's perception of you, right? And their perception is now being changed. And so I wouldn't consider, like, you can, if they were really, really good friends, I'm gonna say, like, they would understand you, right? They wouldn't have to take sides, right? They would understand her temperament, her personality, her worldview, and be able to switch that off when they are engaging with you, and you won't even see that there's been conversation. It wouldn't be influence in that relationship at all, and if it is, then by all means, you can decide whether or not you want to keep them in your life, right? If other gossip is going to affect their relationship with you. And
Sure, definitely.
does that
Or
make
just
sense?
they didn't get my perspective, so but I don't know if I want to go back and talk about all this stuff again. I mean, I talk about it with you, but I don't know if I want to talk about it with her because then it's like taking me back to the trauma. So
Yeah, exactly, right? So if they're not really good friends and things like that, I mean,
yeah, I can make new friends, but you know, I've got a wife and she's, you know, so I have to be careful on how I, you know, female friendships. I like having female friends, but I have to be
wait, you're
careful
married?
having them and how they play out. And
You're married?
yes,
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. I did kind of know that. I can't remember. Okay, okay. You're married, Victor? You're married,
yeah,
Victor?
Victor.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was just, you know, I got attached to that girl, and it was like she hooked me in with this victim thing, you know, like you've talked about it before, how you want to save somebody or something, or you want to protect somebody. She
Yeah.
hooked me in with that, like with all this texting.
So this was an extramarital affair then?
I mean, it was like we only were intimate one time, but it was like an emotional connection because we were texting like practically every day for year and a half.
And it got intimate once.
Once, yeah.
Ah, okay. Well, I would say spend more time on that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be honest, Victor, okay? That is
Okay.
news to me, right?
Yeah, sorry. I
Yeah,
know we only have a short time, but you
that
know,
that is huge. But yeah,
I'll,
essentially,
you know, maybe I can come to some. I know you have like some group things with men and whatnot. And I don't know with the insurance and the expense and like, I'd love to talk to you. I think you're amazing, but
good, good,
you know, you
good.
have some like monthly things or whatever, right? It's not so
Yeah, we have.
pricey and like guys can
Yeah.
express themselves and whatever.
We may have that launch soon, but right now we just have sessions.
Oh, just one on one.
Yeah, just one-on-ones right now.
Okay, well, I'll
So,
see what I can do because
yeah,
you're
okay.
amazing and awesome. But thanks so much
Yeah,
for taking the
of
time to
course.
talk to me.
Of course, of course, of course. You're amazing. Thanks for taking the call.
Hi everyone, if you enjoyed our content, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and IG where we post daily and YouTube where we post weekly.